Hi everyone, my name is Suzanne and I'm a Chinese metaphysics master in Hong Kong. Today we're going to talk about Feng Shui and wealth blocks. It happens sometimes that we try everything we can in terms of Feng Shui. We follow all the wealth stars, we do all the necessary activations. And on a personal level, we do everything we can to improve our financial situation, but somehow it just doesn't work the way we expect. Somehow there seems to be something blocking us, and we're not quite sure what it is. And so I will show you how you can do a very, very quick analysis to see whether there's something in your home that may be blocking your particular wealth pursuits. Now, in order to do this, we first need to actually plot your Bazi chart. So that's your astrology chart. You can go to this link here. I'm also going to put the link into the description of the video. So you plot your Bazi chart. For this analysis, you do not need the time of birth. So the date of birth is sufficient. So just key that in, and then you will get a 2-page sort of chart. But all we focus on is actually this part here. Let me show you this one. That's all you need to look at. The rest is irrelevant. So this is very, very simple. So as you can see here, it says here north, which means that the north sector is your self sector, your identity sector. And this is something that we can look at to check whether you are actually receptive to the wealth energies that are in your home or surrounding your home. If your self palace, your self sector is blocked, if there are any negative external features or internal features, or maybe it's missing, that sector may not even be there because you have an irregular floor plan, then that will lead to a particular wealth block. Now, it doesn't mean that this cannot be fixed, but it will not be, it's likely that you will have to do that you will have to take proactive personal action rather than just fixing it from a Feng Shui perspective, right? But this can give you an indication of where the block actually lies. So again, check this one here. It says Gua. This is basically your life Gua. And then just check here what it says, which sector is indicated. So in this particular example, it is the north sector. Now, once you've done that, once you know which sector your identity sector is, then you take a look at your floor plan. And here, what you need to do is you stand at the center of your flat. So you do this in your flat. You don't do this at the office. You check in your flat, in your home, in your property. You stand at the center and you just measure all the directions and you check where your actual identity palace is, where that sector is. So in the example just now, the north sector would be this particular pie slice, right? Now, it doesn't matter whether it's a bathroom or a kitchen or a utility room or whatever. That's irrelevant. What is important is that the sector is present. So if you have an irregular floor plan, it could be that this sector is not quite as big as all the other ones, or maybe it's not there at all. Or maybe it's a sector that has no windows, in which case the energies become quite stagnant and will eventually create a block. Or if you do have windows, maybe you have a sharp edge of a neighboring building pointing at that window that would be considered a negative external feature. So anything like that, anything that makes you slightly uncomfortable or that doesn't look right, that will usually then create a block, a particular financial block in your life. Now, specifically, each sector creates a different wealth block. So if your identity palace is in the north, you will have different wealth blocks than a person whose identity palace is in the southeast, for example. So again, check which one your identity palace is, and then check whether it's fully present or whether it's affected by either being missing or being significantly reduced in size compared to all the others, or whether there's no windows and it's just cluttered and just doesn't look nice, or whether it is affected by some sort of negative external feature, something that looks threatening when you look at it. And then depending on the sector itself, it will have a different effect and you will have to take different action. So if, for example, your identity palace is in the northeast, then the specific wealth blocks that you may suffer from is a lack of diversification. So maybe you only have one way of making money, or you depend on just one source of income, and you have never really explored alternative income streams. So maybe you really just rely on one job, your 9 to 5 job, and that's it. And because that always pays the same, yeah, there's not much not much extra money that you can make. Your wealth situation becomes kind of stagnant over time, right? So in order to fix this, the first thing is to declutter the northeast, make sure that it becomes a nice room with like where the qi can flow freely. And then you need to actively pursue maybe a side gig or a side hustle, or try to find something that you can turn into money outside of your 9 to 5 job. Yeah, sell your expertise or just find a second income stream. Now, if your identity palace is in the southeast, then you may suffer from a lack of financial literacy or financial education, right? And very often this happens because as children, we're not really taught financial literacy. And so as children, we kind of grow up feeling that money falls from the sky because it's always there because our parents give us the money, and then suddenly when we grow up we don't really have a concept of or we've never really had a financial education. So in order to improve this again, make sure that you can free up that space or just clear it up, declutter it, make sure that it's as nice and bright as possible, and then give yourself some or make sure that you allocate some time each week to educate yourself in financial matters. Now, even when these sectors are missing, yeah, it doesn't mean that you can't do anything. You can always take personal action. So if the southeast sector is missing, yes, you may be stuck in your financial pursuits because there's just not enough financial education. But that's then something that you can do, actively pursue some course or whatever, like educate yourself a little bit in financial matters. That's something that you can do even though the southeast sector may be missing. Now, if it's a southwest sector, that is your identity palace and may be affected either because it's weak or missing, or there's an external negative feature, or you may not have any windows, then it's just what blocks you is your poor mindset around money and financial matters. So you may have a lot of really limiting beliefs and you're quite cynical about money. And it's very likely that you suffer from a scarcity mindset. Yeah, you're always thinking there's not enough. So this is something that you can actively work on a personal level to reverse this. Yeah, you need to rephrase this. Make sure that you work on this on these financial beliefs that you may carry around with you without even knowing about it sometimes, right? So there are several things that you can do. Obviously, you can go to a coach, or you can just talk to a counselor or a life coach or a business coach or whatever to make sure that you reframe this in your mind. If it's the West sector, if your identity palace is the West sector, then the wealth blocks that you may experience in life could be because your budgeting is inadequate. Yeah, so there's a lack of financial discipline. So maybe the budgeting is inadequate, or the budgeting is adequate, but you're not sticking to the budget, right? So if you're making a financial budget, but you're just not sticking to it, then you may as well not have one. So you need to learn to prioritize financial matters, money matters, and really, really develop financial discipline. If you can't do that, just outsource it to someone else, and someone who just gives you exactly the money that you need for XYZ. That's also possible, but it's definitely something that would otherwise be holding you back. Now, if your identity palace is in the Northwest, then what may be holding you back in terms of wealth is that you have too many financial obligations or maybe too many financial burdens. So maybe you've taken up a huge loan and you can't really service that loan properly. Or you are limiting your financial freedom by taking on too many burdens. You're taking care of too many people, or maybe you're just too generous with your money and you're supporting so many people that they rely so much on you that they don't even try anymore to have their own income. So whatever it is, like the burden is too much for just one person alone. And you have to make sure that you reduce that burden. And if it is a loan that burdens you, or a financial obligation, then you may look into refinancing that loan, see what you can do to lessen that burden a little bit. Now, if it's the north sector, that is your identity palace. Now, the north sector relates often to fear. So you may be too fearful of taking a financial risk, even if it's just a small risk. So you don't want to take a risk at all. Or on the other extreme, you take too many risks. Yeah, so that this is very, very extreme. So either you're not doing anything and you're just taking your money and just leaving it all under the mattress, or you're just taking all your money and you're investing it in crypto or whatever it is, right? So there's like two extremes, and you need to learn to have a bit of a middle ground. You need to learn to invest your money in such a way that part of it is invested or stored in a savings account where it's just like safe, right? You can take risks, but take educated risks and make sure that you know that if you lost the money that you put into a risky investment, you can actually afford to lose that money. Yeah. So make that calculation. Now, which one have I not talked about? The East. So if your identity palace is in the East, then the wealth block you may be struggling from is that you may not have a long-term financial plan. So everything is just very short term, like what do I do this week or this month? But there's like no financial plan for the future. So everything is very short term and you don't have financial goals. You just kind of go along the way and you hope for the best and you're like, okay, well, hopefully when I'm 60, 70 years old, I can retire and still have some money, but you're not actually planning for it. So again, solve this by putting a financial plan in place and then really working towards a financial goal. And then lastly, we've got the South. So if your identity palace is in the South, your wealth block lies in the fact that you procrastinate about money. So you fail to take consistent actions and you just always take some sort of like a wait and see attitude. You don't really jump on opportunities, or you're just very indecisive about should I save my money or should I invest it or what should I do? And instead of taking a decision, you just don't do anything. And so the money isn't really working for you one way or another. It just sits there, it's not doing anything. And so that then becomes a wealth block because your wealth is not growing, right? So again, this is something that can be solved. You just need to be better at taking decisions, or, you ask a financial advisor for help, for example. All right. So these are the wealth blocks that you could experience based on your identity palace in your home. And again, if your identity palace is present, if it has windows, if it's fully decluttered, and if it's not affected by any negative features outside, anything sharp that's pointing at it, then you will not likely experience that particular wealth block. It only happens if the sector itself is not present or relatively small in comparison to the other sectors. That may be because you have an irregular floor plan, so it's not completely square. Or it could happen because there's absolutely no window in this particular sector. There's no access to natural sunlight, or it's just super cluttered inside, very stuffy, there's no fresh air, nothing. or it may be affected by a negative feature outside. So all of these you need to check, and then you can look into what particular effect it has and how you can counteract it on a personal level with by taking action. All right. I hope this helped you guys. I hope you can clear up some of those wealth blocks and financial blocks and take proactive action and remove the blocks by just doing the right thing. All right. If you do have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below, or you can contact me directly. My email address is in the description to this video. And I'd really appreciate it if you liked the video and shared it, and if you subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys. See you soon.